Hey there, Synthrones. Welcome back to another edition of Midnight Synth Talk, episode number 5. Hi, I'm Pure Ambient Drone, and this is my channel where I vlog about synthesizers. So hit the subscribe button, tap the bell to keep up with all of my synth adventures. JamesDrone.com, that's the place to be to connect with me. JamesDrone.com is where you'll find my music, my social media links, and other stuff too. So Midnight Synth Talk is all about me speaking into the microphone without a camera running so that you can relax, maybe grab a pillow or your favorite beverage and sit back and just enjoy the talk. Last night I went window shopping or screen shopping, as my son likes to joke about it, and I was looking at used synthesizers, and I thought tonight I would look at some new synthesizers. So I went to a popular online music store, typed in synthesizers as a search criteria, and now I'm going to start talking about the search results. So basically, our first one here that I'm looking at is a Modal Electronics Argon 8X. And the one I'm looking at in particular is the 61 key 8 voice. It is a polyphonic wavetable synthesizers. Now, I have never owned anything that has been made by Modal Electronics. Nothing. And I've always been interested in their two big flagship synthesizers, the 002 and the 008s. More in the 008s than anything else. That is a pure analog synthesizer, and I think it sounds really beautiful. But this is something totally different from either one of those. And so it's interesting to read about these new synthesizers that are coming out from companies who in the past made synthesizers in the $3,000 and $4,000 range. I mean, can you believe that that's what their O2 and their 008s cost? That was a lot of money. So I'm looking at the specs here, and we're looking at sound engine types. It's wavetable synthesis, morph table, static, high resolution. It's a digital synthesizer. It has a 4-axis joystick. That's pretty cool. 8 voice, but it's mono timbral. But it has a polychain that you can polychain up to 2 Argon 8s. Interesting. Very interesting. On the preset side of things, it holds 300 factory programs and 200 patch spaces. So you get 500 patches in your memory. And then the oscillators, well, they have 32 wavetable oscillators. You get 4 per voice. That's really good. And then the waveforms have 8 times oscillator modifiers. That's pretty darn good too. So the specs look really good on this, but I haven't pulled the trigger on this one just yet. I don't think I will. I've listened to it, and I have the Waldorf Quantum, and it's really hard to beat that one for me. It really is. All of these digital type synthesizers with these fancy wavetables in them, it's really all of them kind of packed into one box for me. So it's going to be really hard to change my mind on the Waldorf. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, we have a Behringer TD3. This one here I'm looking at is the yellow one. So this is their baseline synthesizer. And I've never owned an actual 303. I mean, I don't think a whole lot of people can get one in this day and age without pumping out, what is it, $3,000-$4,000? They're pretty expensive. But this one with the yellow paint on it with the happy face is actually pretty neat that they put that on there. And I actually own a Roland TB3, and I actually like the TB3. It's got all the effects built into it. It's got a sequencer, and it's a digital synth, but it sounds so good. But I have been so curious at this price point. It's $149, And at this price point, I'm just like, wow, why not try a TD3? That would be pretty cool. By the way, the Modal electronics was $819. Let's see, the Moog Subharmonicon. Man, I think I said that wrong, maybe. This is a semi-modular synthesizer. It's analog. It's 60 HP semi-modular. So it can fit into a modular rack, but it comes with those pretty brown sides. This was, I did a small review on this because I've never owned one of them. It runs at $699. It is, did I say Moog earlier? It's a Moog. It's a Moog synthesizer. I don't know why, but I've been talking with somebody in the UK and I'm stuck on the word Moog. It's Moog. I know it's Moog, but sometimes when you get used to other people saying it differently, it sticks in your head. So forgive me if I said that earlier. So anyways, this is a unique sounding synthesizer. It's totally different, I think, than anything else Moog has ever put out. It's just totally different. And I think that's good. I think that's great because you can get really wild and crazy sounds out of this. In fact, I've been so tempted to replace the System 1M with this Moog synthesizer. It just really covers a lot of bases that I was using the System 1M for. The System 1M is so quirky. If you want it to be, you can really squeeze some really good sounds out of the System 1M. So that's an interesting, that would be an interesting trade out for me, actually, because I've been thinking about getting rid of the System 1M. Okay, so the Waldorf Iridium, it is a digital polyphonic desktop. Now, this has 16 voices. I have the Quantum. It has 8 voices, the Quantum does. And so they've upped the voices on this, but they got rid of the analog filter, which some would say that's not a whole big deal because the analog filter was mono. Yeah. I've listened to the sounds demos of the Waldorf Iridium. I can't say that I'm impressed with it too much as far as the sound goes. It's just not analog enough for me. And I know there's people out there that just, they just don't get where I'm coming from. And that's good. That's okay. I have my preference just like anybody else does. So let's keep on moving. We see a Moog 1 16 voice analog synthesizer. Oh, I've got one of these. I've got the 16 voice. This one's going for $8,499. Real quick, the Waldorf Iridium was going for $2,499. But this Moog 1 is going for $8,499. And I'm going to tell you what, before I had one of these, it was easy for me to criticize it. And I did. And I criticized the price. But after owning one, I can see what Moog has done, and I can understand why it costs so much. This Moog 1 is built beautifully, and it's a beautiful synthesizer, right down to its wood trim, to the feel of the keys, to the feel of the knobs. It is a beautiful machine. I love my Moog 1, and one day they're not going to make them anymore. They're not going to be making them forever. I would assume that sooner or later they're going to go bye-bye. So this one surprises me. I didn't know they were still making the Korg original mini logs. I had one of these as well and sold it after I got the Pro log, which the Korg mini log is a really nice sounding synthesizer. I always thought it was a little bit on the bright side, okay? Even into the territory of sounding a little harsh at times for pads and things. And it's only 4 voices. I shouldn't say only because it's $499 and it's an analog synthesizer. So it's really a great deal. It really is. It's a great deal. But I got the Prologue in its stead. And that's the only reason why I got rid of it, because it is a great sounding synthesizer. I really loved it for leads. I really loved it. So we've got a Behringer Neutron semi-modular analog synthesizer. Behringer is, I guess this is their take on a new synthesizer. This is something that they did that is totally different than any cloning or anything like that. And it was well received. And I'm glad to see that those who got to try the Neutron, which I've never owned one, I'm glad to see that those who actually owned one or got to try one admitted that it was a really good synthesizer and they were pleased with it, and that they gave Behringer the due credit for the originality. And it just proves that Behringer can pump out a unique sounding synthesizer that they can call all their own without having to clone anything. By the way, I have nothing against them cloning. I mean, I drive a car, I sit on a couch, I sit at a kitchen table. I mean, all of those things are cloned after other people's ideas. And so the synthesizers that they're cloning have long been, for the most part, out of manufacturing. And so I have no problem with that, just as a little disclaimer there. Here's another Behringer, the Odyssey. I love the sound of the Odyssey, and I think Behringer really captures it. I just haven't got one yet, but man, it is so tempting. I have a lot of gas for the Behringer Odyssey. I really do. And I like the price point. It's $588, and it sounds good, guys and gals. It sounds really good. Uh, Man, I don't know if I mentioned it, but the Behringer Neutron is $289, and then you got the Behringer Odyssey for $588. And you can just imagine that you're not paying a whole lot of more money to get an Odyssey. What a difficult decision it would be if you could only get one. So here's a Moog grandmother, and I've never owned one of these, but I've owned the matriarch. I've heard demos of the grandmother, and it does sound really good. It really does. And everyone that I talk to who owns one of these, they're very pleased with the sound, the interaction, all of that. They're just very, very happy with it. So look at it. We got let's see, what was that? And that's going for $999. I think they might have gone up a little bit. Weren't they like in the $800, $700 range? So down here we have a Dave Smith Instruments Rev 2. And this one's the 8th voice at $14.99. I've got a Rev 2. I've had a Rev 2 in the past, and I sold it, and then I missed it. That thing is an all-rounder. It's got the Curtis filter chips in it, and if that doesn't mean anything to you, I guess I can describe what it means to me. The Curtis filter chips, to my ears, have a smoother sound about them. They're not as harsh, okay? And because of that, I think that anything you create on them can fit nicely in a mix, especially if you want to push it back a little bit so it's out of the way and so it's not too intrusive. That's how I use the Rev 2. But it can be used for so much more as well. I mean, it's an all-rounder. Sequential Pro 3 is right next to this at $20.99. And this is the special edition, and it's got the multi-filter built in it. And I don't know if that's exclusive to the special edition. I'm not exactly really sure what the differences are between the two of them, but if anybody knows, you can leave it in the comments below. Behringer Cat at $298. This is an interesting synthesizer. It comes with two VCOs, 4 mixable wave shapes, resonance low pass filter. Interesting stuff. I never owned the original Cat. Man, when I look at the Behringer stuff, even though I don't like synthesizers without presets, I get really gassed up over the Behringer stuff because I know it sounds good. And it just makes me want to buy it all up and try it all out. And I'm so out of room, but I just want to set a big table aside, load up Behringer gear on it, and just jam out. That would be so much fun. And I think I might do it one day. I just might. The Novation Base Station 2, they're still making that at $439.99. Wow. I had one of these, and please don't hate me, but I did not like the sound. I don't know what it was, but I did not like the sound of the Bass Station 2. The character of it, I just couldn't get it to jive with me, if that's still a word, jive. I didn't like it. Now, here's an interesting story. I owned the Novation Peak for a very short time, but then I heard about the Summit coming out, and I wanted to get rid of the Peak because I had this notion I was going to get the Novation Summit. So I returned the Peak, but then I thought, man, the Novation Summit is coming out. Maybe I should get that. Now, this is what's interesting about this story in that I have ordered the Novation Summit like 3 different times. Never, ever opened it up and returned it for various reasons. And, well, okay, so like the first time I ordered it, it hadn't been shipped yet, and I canceled the order. The second time I ordered it, it arrived, but I had second thoughts, and so I called the company, and they said, just refuse the delivery. I've done enough business with them. They were okay with it. I felt really bad, but I refused the delivery, and it went back. And then the third time that I ordered it, they shipped a used one at the price of a new one. And they realized their mistake and told me, hey, when it arrives, send it back. Don't accept it because we sent you the wrong thing, and they caught it. I never ordered another one after that. So there you have it. The Behringer Pro 1 is a Prophet 6 voice. That's got to sound really good. Yeah. That's going at 348. Sequential Prophet 6 voice analog. Oh, by the way, I keep forgetting to throw the prices out at you. The Novation Summit, 61 keys, $21.99. Now, you know, this is let me get back to the Novation really quick. The Novation Summit is a digital synthesizer, okay? So its oscillators are digital. And people always try to compare it to the Rev 2. The Rev 2 has analog oscillators, okay, but they're digitally controlled, whereas the Novation is completely a digital synthesizer, but it goes through analog filters, if that makes any sense. So the better comparison would be to the Prophet 12, which is also a digital synthesizer that goes through analog filters. So just wanted to clarify that. And that's going at $21.99. So Prophet 6, I own one of those. Those are at $27.99 on this website. I love the Prophet 6. I've owned 3 of them. The third one I have is a brand new one. The other 2 were used and B stock. And I didn't change them out for any reason whatsoever. Like, oh, I want a new one. It was just me going through my pickiness on synthesizers. And I don't know, I think pickiness is the wrong word. I love synthesizers. And so I'm always selling a synth because I don't have room to get another one in here. But I'm promising myself to stop doing that, to just be happy with what I've got. Remember, it's good to be happy and content with what you have. So here's an interesting synthesizer. Oh, this is going to be upsetting for some people. I'll tell you the price and see if you can guess which one it is. This is $3,899. Can you guess what it is? It's the ARP 2600 FS Semi-Modular Analog Synthesizer System. I'm going to click on this because I don't think there's any chance that it's going to be available anymore. Yeah, it's sold out. I mean, you know, just by the very hope that maybe they would still be selling these, but I knew it. I knew it was sold out. But yes, it is sold out, and I have seen them already on the used market going for $8,000 to $9,000. Wow. Yeah. So, man, somebody could have made a lot of these and a ton of money. But who knows what it costs to put these things together and to ship them and to move them out. Okay, so a Behringer Model D is next for $298. I loved that synthesizer and miss it dearly. I have bought it again, but then I didn't keep it because of the lack of presets. I love Behringer synthesizers. I love the way they sound. Um, like I said in my last Midnight Synth Talk in episode 4, I believe it was, it's not the synthesizer, it's me. I've got a problem with that. It's horrible, but I'm owning up to it. I'm at least admitting to it. Let's see what else we got here for new. I cannot believe that the Korg Volca keys is still available brand new. You know, I really liked the Korg Volca keys. And if I didn't have the Prologue and the Mini Log that I had in the past, I would have kept that thing. It is so neat. It is a neat synthesizer. 4-note polyphonic, pure analog synthesizer. It's really neat. It's a great little synthesizer. I really, really enjoyed it. Sequential, Dave Smith. Well, this is a Dave Smith instrument OB6 is what it says, is what it's being advertised as. Let's see what it, I'm going to click on it. And yeah, they're advertising it as a Dave Smith instrument, but I think now they actually have Oberheim and then Sequential on the back of it. I can't really look at it to see, but it's interesting to kind of bring that up. Man, now I want to look at the back of my synthesizer and see if it actually says Sequential on the back of the OB6 because I can't remember. It's going to be bugging me now all night long. Arturia Mini Brute 2. Man, I had a Mini Brute and I had a Micro Brute. And no, I don't think I had the Mini Brute now that I think about it. I had the Micro Brute. And yeah, I wasn't too happy with it. I don't know why, but I just didn't like the Micro Brute. I know that's terrible to say, but I don't hate it. I got nothing against it. I just, there's some synthesizers that we don't actually like fuse with. It's got nothing to do with the synthesizer. It's just got to do with chemistry. The Behringer Crave. Behringer's all over. A few years back, you couldn't find much Behringer, and now they're like everywhere. I think Yuli's doing a great job over there. Yeah, Yuli, if you're watching, and I know you watch my synthesizer videos, hey, great job. Okay, so the Behringer Crave, I actually had one of these. And the endless possibilities of tweaking that thing is mind-boggling. And it sounds so rich, warm, and creamy. It is a wonderful synthesizer. And a friend of mine wanted it, so we did some trades, and out it went because no presets. Nothing against Behringer. I love Behringer. I just can't wait for the UBXA. Oh, I'm so excited. Here's another one that I had, the the MS1. I had the MS101 before they renamed it from Behringer. Let's see, 388. Okay. And I had the SH101. Really enjoyed this synthesizer. I'm looking at a red one, and that's what I had. I had a red one of these. I had a gray SH101. I had a lot of fun with that, but I sold it, and I think I sold the Behringer as well for the same reason. No presets. Can you guys pick up a pattern here? Now, here's a synthesizer coming up, and it is a Korg Minilog XD, which is a hybrid synthesizer. So it's got digital and it's got VCOs. And this is really, really interesting to me. It's at $549 for the module that I'm looking at. It's really interesting to me. I know that you can polychain these together, and I thought it'd be so cool to polychain a keyboard and then a module, one of these together, and see what that would sound like. But haven't done that yet. I might. I don't know. Roland SE02. Didn't know that these were still for sale. Learning something new here tonight. Learning something new. Okay, Roland SE02. $399. I had one of these. I didn't think it sounded as good as the Model D because a lot of people compare it to that sound. But I did like the presets, and I kept it around for that reason, but ultimately sold it because it just didn't do it for me in the sound department compared to the Poly D. Some people actually prefer the Roland I said Poly D, didn't I? The Model D. Okay, so I didn't think the Roland SE02 sounded as good as the Model D from Behringer. But other people would go backwards with that and say the exact opposite. It just depends on your ears and what you're looking for. They sound pretty darn close to one another, though. But I thought the Model D did something a little bit extra in the upper mid range that just sounded smoother to my ears, anyway. I could be exaggerating those things too. I say that a lot. Behringer Wasp Desktop 298. Never owned one of those either, and they're fairly new at the time of this video. Roland System 8 plug out. I had one of these and I traded it. I got a good trade in on a Pro 3 at a local music store, and I just couldn't turn it down. And then the Pro 3 went off to a friend who wanted it. But the System 8 is fully loaded, and somebody asked me, should they get this or some other synthesizer? This is a great starter synth, in my opinion, the Roland System 8. It's $14.99. But it's got 49 keys, which, 61 would have been better, okay? But it's got 8 voices, 3 oscillators. You've got your plug outs like the 106, the Jupiter 8, the JX3P, and then the System 8. And then you can buy plug outs for it as well. So you can never run out of possibilities. One would argue the fact that it is pretty much a VST in a box, if you will. I hate to use that term, but I've heard it called that many times, along with other synthesizers. Here's the cool thing, though. If they would have added like some really warm analog filtration in there, and I don't think it comes with an analog filter. So if they would have done that and warmed things up, this would have been like the ultimate, oh man. Now, they did add an analog filter to the Phantom, and boy, does it make a difference. It really does. It really does. Let's see where we are on time here. Well, I think that's about it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed tonight's edition of Midnight Synth Talk. And if you did, leave a comment and let me know. It is always good to support me by sharing this video and maybe telling your friends about the channel. That would be great. But until next time, I am James Drone. Keep calm and synth on.